G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL Fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players who bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Heff and tonight I'm joined by podcast favourite Jordy D'Sena. How you going, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me back on.
Back from the trains?
Yes, back on trains. Got back Thursday night, straight into footy. So, loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Over to Perth, playing on the trains, playing on the stops, all that sort of stuff?
Yep. And and there's not too much service along the Nullarbor. So, yeah, making sure I'm checking fantasy scores is hard. Like, they've got Wi-Fi on it, but
Has it cost you yet? Have you?
Hasn't cost me yet, luckily. Yeah. But there was time where I could check. I had to miss one of the subs, basically, but I just sort of backed it in.
Yeah, all right. So you got lucky anyway.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. But yeah, anyway, massive weekend for me.
Yes,
fantasy-wise, should we get into it?
Yes.
You think? Well, first thing, people might have seen on Twitter out there that I won the Div 24 Shiva Grand Final, so Premiers.
That's awesome.
Through the Champions League, the Div 2 Champions League next year as well. So if you win that, I think you go straight up to Div 2 in the competition, which is kind of the cool thing about Shiva. Like I was always wondering, like, do I have to start at Div 24 and work all my way up to Div 1? But you don't have to. If you get into the Champions League, then you can take a shortcut if you win that. So got the chance to do that next year, so that's pretty exciting. A lot of prize money involved with Shiva and stuff that I kind of forgot about as well, so that's kind of cool that comes with that.
Handy as.
Yeah, and so if you're not in the Shiva, is what I'm trying to say, probably a bit of a plug. It's a great competition because, like, you just chuck in $50 at the start of the season. They organise your league for you, your league mates, set everything up. You don't even have to join the league. I don't think you just get put in it type thing on the Keeper platform and you're good to go. And then, there's lots of different competitions and there's a knockout thing and stuff like that. So, but anyway, won the Div 24 championship, and so move on to the Champions League. So pretty stoked with that.
That's good.
You ever won a Shiva before?
Nah, I did it last year, but I
dropped out again this year.
Yeah. I had too many drafts. So but it's unreal. I think I was close to last year when we went down to in the port. They did the draft day, which is awesome.
I was down there. Yeah.
Which is such awesome to have everyone together drafting at the same time.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that aspect.
I missed it in 2025, but I'll get back to it next season. There was a suggestion from the Shiva community that you should get a special icon next to your name if you win a Shiva premiership. And talking to Ryan Power, he said it might be a possibility somewhere down the line. A lot of other things to achieve before that, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Thing to chuck in as well. That's the beauty of Shiva, beauty of Keeper, and having a developer that's constantly updating it and keeping it fresh. So that's good. And I guess the other news is into the Home League Grand Final this weekend, but it comes with a bit of a cost.
Got injury.
Yeah, Nick Vlosten. And I was already running shallow with defenders because I had Bergman and Doherty already drop out. And now I lost Vlosten. So I've lost 3 defenders in 3 weeks, I think it is, or 3 matches that I've played anyway. So I'm going to have to be run with either Saad El Hawley, if he keeps his spot on the side, which isn't guaranteed, or Judd McVie, which I'm pretty sure will play, but I'd be lucky to get a 50 out of him.
He's just not scoring, is he?
Nah. So
I looked at your team today because you put it on X and the matchup, and you've got a lot more, I would say, like primo types. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think you should be right.
I hope so. I'm only projected to win by 4 points, I think, on the projections. Yeah, but Grundy's only projected to get 110 or something like that. And I don't know, I just can't see him going that low.
Are you going to straight see him?
Yeah. Because we don't do loopholes. Yeah. We can loophole Thursday night, but the only player I've got playing Thursday night is Durham, so I'm not going to waste it just in case there is an injury or laid out or something like that. I won't use it because of the lockout. So so hopefully there's a few players. Just looking at the teams, I'm worried that the guy I'm playing has won 6 of the last 7 or something like that, or 5 of the last 6 or something like that. But he just seems to get lucky, not all the time. But last year he only beat me because Brent Daniels was laid out and I copped a 0 type deal. And then I don't know, I'm just worried about a few things. But looking and so now that I don't even want to mention this because it's going to backfire. Because now I say it, it'll not come to fruition. But a lot of my matchups are a lot nicer, I think.
This year or
this week. This week. This week in terms of Grundy playing West Coast in a dead rubber where he has to, go big to make All Australian type thing. And where I look at he's got Bont, who does have a good record against Freo, but that's going to be a crazy game. There's going to be no stuffing around for teams in that game. Same with his other probably captain option is Zorko, who comes against Hawthorn, who are trying to get top 4 as well. So there just might not be as much dead rubberness in some of their games, whereas like I've got a lot of players that are not playing for much, that are just going to be stat padding and that sort of stuff. So it probably won't happen now that I've mentioned it. But yeah, that's kind of the one kind of hope that I've got. If I look at the matchups, I've got a few more fantasy-friendly matchups than he does.
I don't know. You had a couple of rookies there, like young players, so you never know. You've got seasoned veterans, I feel.
Except
a lot
for
more older players.
Except for Judd McVie, who's now firmly sitting in my back line. But hopefully O'Hawley gets a full game because he scored.
And you can loop it.
Yeah, well, he scored 40 and 40%. Almost 50 and 40% time on ground or something this week. So
score.
Just needs to actually get a game. It's not looking likely though with some of the ins for Essendon, which is what I'll say. But let's have a look at what else we got here. Oh yeah, so this weekend we're actually going to the district at the casino to get around some fantasy grand finals. I had a few people message and see if there's anything going on. So yeah, we'll be at the district my league will be at the district on Sunday. So if anyone wants to kind of pop in and say good day and watch some footy on the big screen, that's where we'll be having a few beers. And
that'd be good, like especially that Dogs game. I think mini elimination final, watching that.
Yeah,
I mean you've got, like you said, well you have Brayshaw, you have Bont, probably captain.
Yeah, exactly. And there'll be and I think in the last game as well. Like I think I've got Zorko.
Yeah,
I mean he's 300, so that's another matchup.
Yeah, that
I really like as well. So there's a few bits and pieces like that. So yeah. Anyway, the other thing is before we get into the round review, just on some of the VFL stuff, we had is that Annable. I'm
not sure how you say it.
I think it's Annable.
Yeah.
Turned up in the VFL playing for Brisbane on the weekend. I think Zeke Hewland had a big game in the VFL as well. I know your brother Matty's pretty keen on some of these guys, but what's your take on those guys scoring well in the VFL?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Like, we've seen it. Like, I don't know, the thing that comes to mind is Horn Francis playing VFL. I know he didn't put up tons, but we saw, straight away coming in at AFL level. I'm interested to see who's going to be pick 1 to 3, I guess, in a new keeper.
Yeah.
So I need to get Matty and pick his brain on that.
Yeah.
Because I guess like Hewland, apparently they said he's potentially like a Goulden type, which excites me. And I don't know much about the others. I know there's like a Luke Jackson sort of type of ruck potentially coming through.
Yeah.
Cooper, Duff, Tyler. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to basically rank them. But I mean, with the Brisbane, like Animal's going to go to Brisbane, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's a
it's
academy.
So yeah, I mean,
fantasy wise, it's going to be great to see them in action next season and see how they go. I love this type of year, and I'm looking forward to actually getting into writing some reviews and stuff like that. Before we get into the round review, I just want to give Puzzle on the Discord a bit of a shout out. So Sunday morning, he messaged saying, should I take Rowan Marshall's 121 or roll the dice with Cherry? So he must have 2 rucks and play the thing. And
oh, no.
I told him to play Cherry.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I said, chuck Cherry on the field. And, what have you got to lose? If you're not going to win, I think he said he was 100 points down and needed to make up 100 points or something like that from the projection. So I said, look, you got nothing to lose. Chuck Cherry on the ground and see what happens. He didn't listen to me. The other members of the Discord talked him out of it, said don't go against Marshall's 121. Other things can happen, whatever. And he's messaged me yesterday saying he should have listened to me because he ended up losing by 17 points and would have won if he
So he would have captained Cherry.
I don't think they have captains, but I think just he lost by 17 points and Cherry scored more than Rowan Marshall.
Yeah.
So he would have won that. So
massive.
Yeah, shout out to Puzzle. Apologies for...
Damn, that sucks.
Not getting you a grand final, but that's why you always listen to the big dog.
Yeah, listen. Well, you're a Cherry. Well, you traded Cherry for Grundy.
Yeah. Well, that said, like this week it sucked, but I got through, so it doesn't matter. I'd still rather have Grundy versus West Coast this week in the grand final. That's for sure. All right, let's get into the round review. Essendon versus St Kilda. I didn't expect this to be such an arm wrestle. Angus Clark scored 98 points. What have you made of his season so far this season? Yeah,
I mean, not pretty good. Like for a young kid to come in, put up some of these scores. I just don't know. Like Essendon, there's so many of these types, and I find it hard to read Essendon. Like I've been a big fan of Perkins. I know he's not a defender, but he's just never come on. Yeah. And you've got all these sorts of types that are like, I don't know, they show something and then do they come on? And Essendon have always... It's going to need to take something to turn, I think. Like the other thing is I've sort of been wrong about someone like similar like an Archie Roberts. So I was like, I'm unsure, but he's gone on to average 85.
Yeah.
And he's sort of playing that wing defence role. So there is a young player there playing it. I just don't know. I think he's probably going to pop one if he can get in the side every now and again. I just don't know if he's going to be a long-term. I don't know how it's going to go long-term. It's to trust in these guys at Essendon.
There's way too much uncertainty at Essendon with right now. Like what the team they're playing right now is not going to be the team that's on the park in 4 or 5 years' time. That said, Angus Clark has had 2 90-plus scores, but this season, which is pretty good for like a first-year player, but like this was in a game where there was lots of chipping going around. For some reason, they just kept trying to kick it to Redmond. In this game. So there was a lot of chipping around the back line. So there was a few there, like El Hawley we were talking about before. He had quite a good score for low time on ground just because of this defensive chip around and stuff like that. So, yeah, Angus Clark, one to put in your black books and just kind of monitor over the preseason and see if he does anything similar next year. Todd Goldstein, tip of the cap, 94 points. He's been serviceable as a backup ruck. Do you think he goes round again? Because like Draper, Adelaide re-signed O'Brien.
Yeah.
So that means Draper's not going there.
Apparently Draper might go to Brisbane.
I've heard that.
Yeah. And I think Brisbane, they still want that Danaher replacement. I know Logan Morris has come along.
Yeah.
But Danaher used to do that forward, chop out ruck, and maybe they see Draper doing that.
Yeah, Draper's nowhere near the player that Danaher was that forward. But definitely better on the ruck. And they're not playing McInerney at the moment.
Exactly. I don't know if with Big O's cooked or because there's a bit of talk. So maybe they do, because I probably see Essendon's ruck being maybe Brian in the future, but he's obviously got that injury.
He's going to miss probably the first couple months.
Yeah.
So maybe Goldstein does go again.
Maybe. But they also got that Vicentini, who I thought showed a few signs, which I don't mind, but they might just need an extra ruck if Draper goes just for depth. Yeah,
I think I can see it happening. But that said, I wouldn't be surprised to see Vicentini come in in one of these last 2 matches, maybe even this week. So make sure you've got him if you're running with Todd Goldstein as your ruck at the moment. Jackson Pryor had 80 points. He's had a few good scores playing this role, but he's another one. Is he a player like in 3-4 years' time you see him in their best 22 playing this exact role and scoring well?
It's hard, isn't it? Like it's just, I mean, he's 24 years old, but I don't know, nothing screams to me. He could be there, could not. It's not one that I would be targeting or anything. Yeah, but
Essendon's really hard to get read on.
It's hard to read.
Yeah, like unless you're Zach Merritt, Nick Martin. Yeah, it's probably the only two you're like backing with confidence at the moment. Hugo Garcia for the Saints had 106 points. It seems his like kind of rise has seemed to come at the expense of Jack McRae, who's dropped right out of the moment. So only 55% time on ground for McRae as well, and I think he still scored like 60 odd.
66,
still pretty good for that low tog, but
yeah, I've got there's talk about Windhager leaving.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Garcia in this game was doing a bit of a defensive tagging role.
Yeah.
And I've got a feeling maybe they're trying to turn him into that, maybe, because there's talk that Windhager could leave and he was that tagger guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe they're trying that. They're giving Boxall more time as well. I reckon they're just trying a few things, the Saints, with their mid-mix. But he's an interesting one because he can score.
Yeah, and he's listed as a forward at the moment. Yes. I'm not sure if he keeps that next season.
But I think he's mid-only at the moment.
Please give McRae some more time on ground for the last game for the grand final this week, please. Although, still winning with him, scoring me 66s, so it's not too bad. And then Cooper Sharman was one of my streamers of the week last week. 93 points, 3 goals. They got another easy matchup this week, don't they? I think.
They got Giants, I think.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
So
it's a Sunday game, so
wouldn't count on him doing that again this week. Then, anyways, on to the Fremantle versus Brisbane. What is going on with Freo in terms of fantasy? Like Brayshaw sucks, Sarong sucks. Do you expect a response from these guys this week, or do you think it's purely like system? It's the game they're trying to play. They're trying to play defensive instead of winning the ball themselves. What do you think? Yeah,
it's tough to read. I don't know. I feel like the Dogs. It's going to be an interesting game this week. They're not really marking it much, as you said. So, like, Brayshaw had 0 marks on the weekend and Sarong had 1. And I looked at all their mid-mix. Even the whole midfield is not marking it. So, I don't know what the game style is, how they're getting it through the middle of the ground. And obviously, even their backline, you know, how Luke Ryan and Clark used to just chip it around and then push it forward. But there's obviously been a different game style there. But obviously it's sort of working because they were a chance to still make top 4 with results.
Yeah.
But they could also miss finals, which might be more likely. But it's hard to read on like as you're a Brayshaw owner as well, it's hard to read. I think he's got 1 ton in the last 10 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. So,
and I think that was a big tackle game that got him there. So
yeah.
I don't really know. I can't put it down. I thought maybe like Hayden Young coming in and there's the different mid mix they were spreading it out, but he's out now and it still hasn't really affected it. The thing I've noticed with Sarong is he's getting a lot of tags, which is affecting his up and down.
Yeah.
But Brayshaw's a hard one to read.
I'd say last ton was in round 18 with a big 138. So all I'm seeing out of that is he's due this week. So it's going to be a big one this week, I think.
for your team.
And well, plus he needs to, they need to make finals, so they're going to go all out. So hopefully that's the case. But anyway, it's some more keeper league relevant players in this team. Sam Marshall is the big one I want to talk about. 94 points. I've been going on about this guy for a while. I've been big on him and just saying how I want to see like a full game out of him. Saw a full game last week, didn't score that well. But this is the week he got the full game and then actually scored pretty well. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought he, like the way he was working up and even the like +6s he was getting and stuff, he was just sort of like roaming around. I told, like, my brother's a big fan of Marshall. Yeah. And I said, oh, how about Marshall? And he goes, he just, I don't know, for him, it reminds me of like a Nick Martin. Like he just has a license to roam. Yeah, okay. And that's sort of what he sees. And I guess he's got that kind of attacking style where he can, I don't know, but Brisbane is a tough side to get into. Yeah. But he was obviously roaming up and down, going in the defence, on the wing. Plus, you know, he's got a great like left foot. Yeah. So it's just how he fits in that side.
There's been people like asking me constantly over the last few weeks, like, give me some low ownership guys to pick up off the waivers and stuff like that. And like, I think a few weeks ago we did have a look at it, and he was one of my, I think I found 3 or 4 that I liked, but he was one of them. I reckon if you've probably left it a bit too late though, because I think he was one of the most claimed off the waivers this week on keeper. But he would have been a good one for your under 20% owned that we talked about a few weeks ago. So hopefully you got on board then. He's kind of a player I wish I took in mid-season drafts when I was trying to find like, I think I took, what's a West Coast ruckman forward, Archer Reed. Like I took him just because I needed a
depth or
just a bench, like they had Cherry and no one behind it type thing. Like, I wish I just didn't waste a pick on him. I just picked up someone like Marshall, who was clearly available back then. And I think he's still available, actually, in our league. But, yeah, like, I'm going to have to battle to get him next season, which is going to be tricky. Harris Andrews is the other one. He was my in my streamers article this week, 89 points. Good record against Freo. Freo also giving up points to key defenders. So it might be worth a stream. Who's this week? They got the Dogs, so it's going to be Lob or who's the other one, the son of the cricketer, O'Donnell. Was he still playing or did he get injured? I can't remember.
I think he's playing.
Yeah. Anyway, one of those two, one of those key defenders for the Dogs should score okay this week if the trend continues. I didn't see a second of the Saturday Arvo games. I'm struggling with kids soccer at the moment, but we'll get into it anyway. Gold Coast versus GWS. I did actually go to the pub with Louis, but I had my son with me. So I probably only got to watch a quarter of the Port game, and that was about it because, yeah, you know what kids are like. But anyway, Bodie Hewland had 88 points, 7 marks. He just pops up there. It's more of a tip of the cap. Did I hear Alex Davies got rubbed out though, and he only scored 21 points as well? I didn't see the bump or anything, but yeah, he had a low tog. I don't know what the go was. Yeah. He still had like decent CVAs, but he had like 50% tog. Yeah. So I'm not sure what happened. He didn't get subbed or anything. I don't know what happened there. Well, it looks like he's been rubbed out anyway for this week. So I don't know. Fiorini only scored 57 on the weekend.
Yeah, it was a weird.
Hopefully,
like, for the Giants, not Giants, Suns. Even Rao was a bit quiet.
Miller was the one he kind of went up this week. So I don't know. Hopefully things kind of return to normal this week. But Davies out of the midfield should be good for those lesser mids like Fiorini and stuff like that. Plus they play against Port Adelaide, who are an absolute rabble at the moment. So they should all go okay. Onto the Giants. Harvey Thomas, actually the most claimed off the waiver wire this week. 94 points, playing a bit further up the ground. Do you trust him going forward, listed as a forward?
Yeah, probably. It's hard. Like, I think this guy's a decent player, and I think he's a good. Like, he's going to be pretty good for the Giants, I think, as a role player. I just don't know whether fantasy wise. Yeah, he's young, and I think they're trying to. Like, I think O'Halloran probably was on the wing, but he was doing a bit more of a tagging role, I think, now. So maybe that's opened up a bit more.
Well, since Callum Ward got injured, they've used Angwin, Ware, and now Thomas on that wing. So I feel like they're just kind of rotating players through to see who's the guy that might be that outside type for them, and whether maybe they need to recruit someone else. So whilst Harvey Thomas has played 2 good weeks like that, without seeing this game at all, I just don't trust it. And I don't trust the wing role regardless. Like, as soon as he loses that forward status, it's useless anyway. So, I don't know. Might be a good one for the waivers for this season. And maybe if he keeps forward status and continues next season. But long term, I'm not moving, I'm not moving heaven and earth to try to get him type thing. Harry Ralston looked like he had a good game. He had 91 points. Seemed like he was playing forward more, given that he kicked 4 goals. Do you reckon that's something to watch for the future?
I think so. Like I think he's had to potentially learn a new role because he was inside and now Cogs is back.
Yeah.
And Cogs is now playing inside and then he went out of the side. So they're looking at him forward. And I think maybe they're giving him this role so he can, get in that side and try and get some games. Because I think he's going to, over the years, I think he can be a pretty good player.
I think he's one of those players that will have forward status early, like maybe next season and the year after, and then he'll have that transition into the midfield.
Yep.
And then
I agree.
We'll have a big year of like a 80 or 90 as a forward, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time. So probably one to start thinking about now if you're planning a premiership assault in a couple years. Aaron Cadman had 82 points of 2 goals. I think we've just established he's going to be a viable option for fantasy. Like he'll be in that 80 average mark that your Mackay's and your Kernos have been recently, and now your Thilthorpes and your Western Bulldogs
Darcy
have turned into, and I think he's probably the next one to do that as well. So he's probably one you'd look at in the draft for a forward option, given that there's a lack of depth next season, as we say every year, really. Onto the shit show that was the Carlton versus Port Adelaide game. What have I been saying about Harry Mackay the last 2 weeks?
You text me and you said Mackay or Ladhams.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I've gone Ladhams, ruck. It's a more safe role.
Yeah.
He still killed it. What happens? Mackay outscores him.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I put it on the Discord on Saturday morning as well. Who should I field? Ladhams or Mackay? Because I had to make the loophole decision. I had to drop one of those 2 out of my forward line. Turns out I should have played both of them. Should have dropped Canelio or something like that. But Harry Mackay just went off. And then, the whole Discord voted that I drop Harry Mackay and play Ladhams. So it makes you feel better. You went with the correct.
I want a safer option, I thought.
Yeah. Kicked 7 goals. And I reckon although Mackay, his brother's coming back in apparently this week, will train today.
Oh,
so I don't know if he'll play. He might play 2s first up, I'm not sure. But if he's on his brother, maybe he won't score as well this week. Maybe we'll just feel sorry for his brother and just go a bit easy on him. Or maybe that's probably
he's probably a really good loop option. Like you can loop him this week, right?
Well,
Thursday night.
Don't need to. Won the grand final already.
Oh yeah, that's in the other league.
Wrong league. Like I said, it didn't really matter because I ended up winning by like 200 points in that league, maybe more, I think. But anyway, Lockie Cowan, 89 points. He's too good for the podcast already, but I just want to mention that I've been getting a lot of thank yous on Discord about this guy.
So early.
I reckon we were talking at the casino at the district, like round 0.
Yep.
And you wanted me to give 3 projections for the season. And I initially went with Lockie Cowan to average 77 or something like that for the season. That was a prediction.
I can probably find it.
And then I withdrew it because I was like, that's it. Of all the players I could talk about, why am I talking about Lockie Cowan?
Yeah.
What's he averaging now? It'd be pretty close to, it's only 61. But
I think there might have been an injury or a sub or
since round 17, since he's been in the side, he's averaging way over 77. Yeah. It's been pretty much 80s every week. So
I reckon that's a better data point from that.
Yeah.
Of what I think he can be next year.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because now you look at Doherty's gone. Saad's not really doing anything.
There's a role there. Obviously, Newman probably comes back next year.
Yeah.
Is the only thing. But they can probably work. They'll be able to work together.
Yeah. And on this kind of game as well, P-Rex in the Discord, he asked, the last 2 weeks versus Port, the designated kick takers have been pretty shit.
Right.
So is there anything that you've noticed? Because I didn't actually watch it. Like I said, I watched the 3rd quarter of this game and that was it after soccer. My theory is McEntee's come back into the side and playing a tagging role on some of these guys, but I haven't actually watched a game. But do you reckon that's something to think about? Maybe a Noble or something like that could cop a lockdown
Maybe,
this week?
I watched the whole game and I didn't notice. It wasn't something that was
We never noticed defensive forward roles anyway.
That's
the only thing I can look at the data points as to why two of the main distributors, like I think Sard was the one he was talking about in this game, and I think it was Clark the week before, scoring poorly. And that's the only change I can see is McEntee's in the side, and he's always been that kind of defensive forward guy. So maybe he's just playing a real lockdown role.
Yeah, Sard had 26.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
that is ridiculous. And he had 6 kickouts for a 26.
Yeah, correct. So just
someone
be a bit worried about that against Port. So maybe don't stream your Powells or your Noble this way. They're probably starters in most teams, but I think one of them is probably going to get hit, perhaps, unless Port just throw in the towel and they just ream us. But it is Boak's last game, so they might play for something. And if the players actually like Ken Hinkley, they might play for him too. But anyway, Francis Evans, just tip of the cap. He keeps getting mentioned each week. He just keeps getting it done. So, ex-Port player there. Onto the Port side of things. Travis Boak had a huge uptick in CBAs this week. Are they just giving him the farewell tour? Like keys to the middle, just do what you want?
I think so. And like our midfield's real sort of, the depth is getting, I don't know, there's no depth in there now without Bergman and Horn Francis, and I think Wines is out now. We're challenging the ban, but he's out for 3.
Yeah,
so he's going to be in there.
Stream Boak in your grand final because
he's a forward. So
I think he's getting 100 this week. Yeah, like, I can't see him not. Given that we're just letting him do whatever he wants. And Christian Moraes was the other one, 71 points. That's just a huge performance coming off the bench, right?
Yes, I want to see him have a full game. I don't know why they're making him sub.
Yeah, I don't know.
For the last few weeks.
Yeah. I heard Dermot Brereton say that maybe Josh Carr isn't letting Ken Hinkley play all the players he wants to play.
Right.
Sounds like the dumbest thing ever, because if you actually look at the Magpies, like who the hell are you going to bring in at the moment? But Magpies could make finals, actually.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty. I might actually go watch it if they do.
Yeah,
that'd be good fun. Yeah, go to Adelaide Oval, check it out.
I really like Moraes. I just like Burgoyne's out, and I just want to. Where's he going to play? Wing, and then Drew and Wines probably play that other wing spot.
Yeah.
But I just want to see him get games.
Well, I called it pre-season that he would be the Dan Houston replacement in a few years. So have to wait and see. But he definitely looks like more of a winger than a halfback flanker at the moment. But there was some murmurs early on in the season. I think even the advertiser ran with that. I reckon whoever wrote that must listen to this podcast, because that was definitely one of my calls I pulled out of my ass. But anyway, Hawthorn versus Melbourne. It was pretty routine from Hawthorn. None of the non-2G 4P players went big, and the only ones who did were too good for the podcast. I messaged your brother a couple of weeks ago on the back of Culture Deer's couple marks that he took. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. The kid's just a freak. Like, he's not scoring high, but like he's the kind of guy that could just take a few marks and kick a few goals and stuff like that. It's good fun to watch. But yeah, for Melbourne as well, like there's pretty much only tip of the caps. Like Van Rooyen had an 80-plus score. Tom Sparrow had an 80-plus score, but I'm not backing those guys in ever. So, bit of a non-event, the Hawthorn versus Melbourne game this week. It happens. But, And Adelaide versus Collingwood actually was kind of the same. Like, we talked about Isaac Cumming last week, 95 points. He's on the Too Good for the Podcast bubble again. But, like, there's no role change or anything. Like, he's just finding more of the footy. Like, I don't know if it's matchup-based, but then you look at it and, like, none of the matchups have been that good or bad. Plays North this weekend, so you'd expect another big score. But then when you look at the matchups for that, like wingers haven't been scoring well against North recently. So, I don't know.
He's probably just found a bit more consistency with his game and the game style of the Crows and stuff like that. And as wingers, you can pop a score. But,
obviously there was a call on the weekend, so that pickup from Keys to give it to Cumming. That was obviously a throw when Cumming. What do you think in hindsight the Crows would prefer? That hit the post call that cost them finals a few years ago, or would they prefer this one to go their way with the beauty of hindsight
and be top?
Yeah, and be top. Surely it's
and
this
get
one.
2 home finals.
Like
it's come around.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is what happens in footy. Like you can win,
and even the Thilthorpe little touch.
Yeah, like that.
I think he went sorry, and I don't know. I think the umpires are just.
Well, there was another one. There was another one called the next day. I think in the Sydney Geelong game. I can't remember who did it, but there was another one that they didn't call as well. But like, I've never seen that not called before. When especially that blatant afterwards. So bit of luck goes your way after years of bloody whinging. So good on you.
You'd rather be, they could better be top.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be top than make.
They would have finished 8th or something.
Bomb out in 2021. Well, I guess ideally you'd have both, but like I said, this one should have been a throw, and you probably should have lost the game as a result. So, anyways, North Melbourne versus Richmond. Special mention to Sheasel, who equalled Titch's records of 54. I was I was flicking between this and the other one, and I think it was 3 minutes to go, and he just racked up 50. So I'm like, there's no chance he's getting it. So I just switched the game over and then checked Twitter afterwards and he'd hit it. So that's pretty crazy. Like 4 disposals in a couple minutes, which is pretty sick.
He's a star. And like, it's so good seeing him high CBAs now. I just wanted him at the start of the year.
Forward status next season?
I think so.
Yeah.
I checked CD today and it was midfielder forward.
Yeah. Number one pick in drafts and keep leagues next year.
He's one more game. Hopefully he doesn't tick over. But you're right. It'll be
fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Pick one.
Yeah, I think he's got it. And then North Melbourne versus Richmond. Oh, sorry, we just talked about this, Sheasel. But onto the actual players. Paul Curtis, 96 points, 5 goals. What do you reckon? Probably not the most consistent scorer, but someone handy to own.
He's really come along like this year, and he's like a pretty good player for them. So I can see him sort of, if North are going to improve, I can see him putting up a few of these scores every now and again.
Yeah, I think so as well. Finn Sullivan, we kind of worried he was a quality over quantity type, but do you think he's just become a little bit more consistent as the season's gone on? Yeah,
he's probably, he's a young player, he's probably come into the game style, gotten used to, I guess, playing AFL footy, coming from, I guess he probably didn't even play for EFL, as a junior.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I think he's going to be good for them. Whether he can actually be a good scorer, like long term,
I think
it's probably hard to see. But yeah,
you look at him just like the talent that he is when he does have the ball in hand, and he is a pretty good user of the footy when he's got it type thing. It's like I think we can just see him kind of turn that quality over quantity kind of tag around and become like a bigger user, especially when we're starting to see, scores of 77 points in his first season and stuff like that. And there's been a few kind of 70, 80 plus scores in this season. So, and that's more than he scored as a junior, as well. So I feel like he can probably turn around maybe at senior level and become a decent scorer. This might be a bit of a hot take, but watching Tom Lynch yesterday, 89 points, but just they were aiming for him at every opportunity. Like every inside 50 was just going to Lynch, and he ended up kicking 3 goals and 4 behinds. But if you think Richmond can kind of go again next year and take that leap and win a few more games and stuff like that, I reckon he could be like a forward option. As like a bench, maybe an F5 bench, kind of like streamable, loopholeable type. If they get better at moving the ball inside 50 and he can remain fit and not suspended and all that sort of stuff, I reckon he might have one good year left in him.
Yeah. Well, he signed a 1-year deal a couple of weeks ago. So he's obviously feels like he wants to help this team move forward. Like they have to have someone to kick to if they're going to improve.
Yeah.
And if he looked on, like I didn't catch the game, but if he looked, this is the first time we've actually seen him do something like this year.
Yeah. Just with a bit of consistency, like playing each week, the team gets a little bit better. He could be just, that last forward option or maybe a loophole streamer option next season. Like he's one I'll be throwing a late pick at, I reckon, because he's best 22 when he's fit. He has to be. They got no one else.
No.
And they were just really looking for him in this game as well. So, yeah. On to the Sydney versus Geelong game. Peter fucking Ladhams.
Your man.
What a legend. Now, like, without tooting my own horn, because I don't think I was the only, fantasy pundit person out there spruiking pick up Ladhams this week, but got so many messages today saying like, thanks for that, like shout out, or like, thanks for that pick because I wouldn't have picked him otherwise. I wouldn't have realised it or wouldn't have gone there. But yeah, like all over the socials, like this week, everyone's been pretty happy with the fact that I've instructed them to pick up Peter Ladhams, and I guess there was probably Stevie Fears was probably saying the same things. Traders probably mentioned it as well. But I did mention on the podcast last week though, when he rucks solo, what he's capable of doing. So the last, like it's a bit skewed, but the last game where he was absolutely the number one ruck, had the most hit outs for Sydney or whatever, he scored 130 points.
Yeah, it's jeez.
So you kind of like knew that. And then even if you look at the games before that, it was always 70 or 80, like one of those two scores. There was a few shit scores in there, but it looked like the games where McLean was probably rucking more than he was and he was forward, or was very much a 50-50 split. Whereas games where he was like the number one man, it was always a 70 minimum, but had the ceiling of like 130. And we kind of saw it in this game, like 109 points. Like you can't complain with that.
Matchup.
Yeah, and the Geelong matchup, exactly. Like it's an easy one.
I think he has forward status as well.
Yeah, I know.
So if you already had a ruck and you could play him forward, it was like a double threat.
Yeah, well that was the hard part. Like in one league, I had to play him as ruck because Grundy was my other ruck. But like in the Shiva league, like I put in the waiver request, and I'm like, because he's still at the consolation finals, and they still take it pretty seriously because I think there's something that goes like order of merit or something like that you play for still in those ones. I was like, there's no way out of the 4 teams remaining that I am getting Ladhams. And then I looked at the waiver priority, and I actually had waiver priority number 2. So I was like, there's a chance here, but one of the consolation finals had the higher waiver priority than I did.
Yep.
But somehow got there.
Yeah.
And the opponent I was playing picked up Cooper Sharman, who scored well as well. But, didn't go the Ladhams route, and it worked out pretty well for me. So, yeah,
That's
Peter
unreal.
Ladhams.
Unreal.
The GOAT, the new GOAT.
Yeah,
We'll probably get dropped next week. Anyways,
you should got him there as backup if you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Something if Grundy's not over his concussion or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and he's got West Coast this week. It's a good matchup as well. So I know, kind of be fun if Grundy didn't come back and he just went big again.
Yeah,
that'd be hilarious. Anyway, I don't think I'd put the captaincy on him though.
Nah.
Angus Sheldrick had 73 points, just another solid outing. Do you think there's a chance of he's trying to play a mid-forward split? Is he? Maybe, does he have forward status at the moment? Sure.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think he does.
He did have the year before. He had it.
That's right.
But yeah, he just signed for them for a couple of years. So there was talk about him going somewhere else, but he obviously sees
Cox, I think,
under Cox is turning around. Yeah. And so, I mean, ideally, if he can sneak forward status, that's what you want because he can score.
I was just, I'll let the website load because the Keeper League website isn't the fastest thing going around, but let's have a look at his CBAs here. He's at 33% for the season, so good chance.
Pretty close.
Good chance, I reckon, that he might get a forward status next season, and that'll be pretty interesting to see. Reece Stanley, 99 points. I'd say, like, as much as we, say that Geelong are an easy matchup, I'd say Ladhams is probably a pretty easy matchup in going the other way. So I wouldn't be reading too much in that one.
I thought about this today. I was like, what are Geelong going to do with their rucks next year? Like, if Stanley just keeps going, like, I don't know if he just did another injury. I've got a feeling, are they going to actually go back to SDK next year?
Well, the talk is that if St Kilda are still going to go after De Koning, which I don't know what happens now with Naz if that's the case, because I don't know if they can throw that kind of money at De Koning anymore. The talk was that Rowan Marshall goes to Geelong.
Yeah, that'd just be insane.
Yeah, so that could happen. But Toby Conway did play VFL on the weekend, and I believe he went really well as well. So there still might be hope for Conway out there. So I hope I got that correct, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened on the weekend. Anyway, Jack Martin, 88 points. So, like, I picked him up in the mid-season draft. He was playing halfback at the time. He went forward for 2 weeks. My league mates laughed at me, said, sucked in Heff. He's now forward and he's going to be shit again. Then he was sub, came on and scored 66 points in basically a quarter.
4 goals.
And then he had another week off after that. Then he came back in this game and started in defence, but ended up forward by then. Like, so first few touches were definitely along that half-back line. But that could also just be Sydney being a small ground and him pushing up as well. But he was just kind of in holes for +6s. Like, there was times where he took a mark in the pocket. I think he chipped it across to Stewart, and Stewart just kicked it straight back to him. Like, there was a few times like that, like +12s and stuff like that going on. So, but he just looked fresh after missing a couple of matchups.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just, like, because I know you talked, there's something, maybe some X factor in finals.
Yeah.
I know that's one of your calls, and maybe they're just, they're freshening him up for that.
Who they got this week? They got Richmond this week as well, so that could be big for him.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know what, are Geelong going to rest players in game this week?
Well, they felt like they did it with Cameron last week. Yeah. Like, he was just, like, he only scored 50 and, like, you'd see him out there, but he was just doing nothing. Yeah. Like, and then he'd be on the bench for a while. And then at times they'd have, like, 4 superstars just sitting chilling on the bench. Like, it felt like they were kind of doing that last week. Because this is the thing, like, I'm shit scared that they'll rest Cameron this week now that the 100 goals is off, because I've got him in my forward line. But then you don't want them having fortnight off, without playing losing touch and sort of stuff like that. So I reckon maybe this week they kind of, were a bit lower on the time on ground and stuff like that. And then without looking at the numbers, I probably should have a look. You probably got it there in front of you. But if any of them were a bit lower this week, it felt like... I think
you're right. I think like someone was saying Myers looked like he had more bench time and stuff like that.
Yeah, it felt like Cameron was like really low. Like, felt like he just did nothing in this game and I barely saw him out there. And when he was out there, he was just walking around doing stuff all. So... maybe it was like after they got in a winnable position, they just said, don't try anymore type thing and keep going. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder, like, it's interesting because there's other people that reckon they're just going to look for Cameron this week. Yeah. And then you got your Manor types, your Myers, these sort of types. Are they going to bypass them? Yeah. And try and go to Cameron? I don't know. Or do they rest, like...
The thing with Cameron is, like, he can't not... like, I think that the next closest is, like, 15 or something like that. Yeah. So, like, he's not going to win the Coleman. But, like... they're not going to rest him, I don't think, as well, because you don't want him not playing for a fortnight too. So he might actually just play half a game, might even get subbed out, which would suck. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Onto the Western Bulldogs versus West Coast game. Treloar, they're kind of non-related to this game, but Treloar returned in the VFL and put up 155 points. So
real good to see.
If he's on your waivers and you're heading into a grand final, you can still pick him up. He might be one to think about. But yeah, just usual suspects for Bulldogs. Again, it's like one of those games where the non-2G4P players were all shit and the 2G4P ones were good. Jason Johannesson was probably the one that kind of stood out, 82 points. Like I felt like it was always going to be this game against West Coast. He was going to have the big score, and I didn't. I had him on my Shiva team, and I didn't field him. Like I fielded Josh Battle instead. Like
how did Battle go?
Not as well, not as good as that. But like I think in the 50s or 60s or something like that. But this is the thing. Like I won by almost. I think it was over 200 points. And I left so many points on the bench. Like what could have been an absolute drubbing in the grand final. But it doesn't matter. Like won it in the end. So got there. Tip the cap to Tom Cole for his 86 points. I'm never going near him after owning him last year after being talked into it by Dossie. I don't know. Ruben Jinby scored 85 points. I don't know what it was about this game, but I got Shannon Hearn vibes in this game. More so not with really the way he played. Just like, well, kind of the way he played, but he was just a player, Shannon Hearn, that started as not a fantasy guy.
Like
just a pretty
more of a
dour defender. Yeah, like a lockdown kind of mid-sized defender. And then this game actually saw like a bit of a fantasy game. I saw him taking intercept marks, saw him taking kicks, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. It's just kind of piqued my interest. Like I think we've established he's never going to be a midfielder, but I don't think that means he's never going to be a fantasy scorer. You know, especially if you look at guys like Shannon Hearn, who are a similar body type and similar type player and things like that. That took a long time to kind of get there and work on their craft and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I just haven't given up hope on Ruben Jinby. Is what I'm trying to say. Do you kind of feel that?
Well, yeah. Some of these defenders take a while to
especially if you're not the flashy outside type. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Sinclair's a good example, but he was like year 8 or something.
It took so long. Yeah.
And then he's fine. He was probably the same bit of a lockdown, and then now he's free ball and everything. Yeah. So
it's free balling.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Campbell Chesser, 80 points. Like, I don't notice him at all when I watched this game. Like, it was on in the background. I was kind of typing up the show notes as it was on.
Yeah.
But, like, he's gone 70, 70 and 80. But I just don't notice, like, the wingers at all out there. He's been talked up for a couple of years. Like, I think he's been, like, a really cheap option in the classic format for the last couple of years. But, like, he might just be another one that's a late bloomer as well, though. But the wing role I don't like.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, for me, he had his chance and it's hard to... Yeah, I think, as you said, a lot of people have sort of forgotten about him, and I don't know. He sort of has to put his name on a map, I think, for me to take notice.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Anyways, that'll do for the round rewind. We've got 3 listener questions to get through this week. So, Christian Lopez, 91, wants to know Cooper Lord. It's a bit of copper there, but anyway, Cooper Lord and Lachlan Cowan look the goods. Will there be a changing of the guard at Carlton? With Cooper Lord, Walsh has just come back, but there's no Chera.
Yep.
Jagger Smith's coming in.
Yep.
Like, Cooper Lord has looked so good over the last 3 weeks, apart from getting injured this week.
Yeah. He's had that tagging role, which has been, a different role that he hasn't been doing.
Yeah. It's just access to more points, tackles and following the ball around, that sort of stuff. And he could do it in like with the other guys coming back, but I just feel like there's going to be less of a CBA share for him. Unless he does become that designated tagger, and if that's the case, then like, is that still a guy that you really want to target super hard? Does he keep forward status next season?
Well, I'm not sure. That's the thing. If he had forward status, maybe he's a all right option. But you're right. He's probably just going to be a target if he does go in there.
Yeah.
And what's that, 80?
Yeah, and like, your 80 average mids, and I know we've had lots of Windhager truthers come at me. Windhager truthers come at me this week. But again, like, he's pretty similar. Like, he's a mid 80s mid. It's good, but it's like not a fantasy
superstar. Star.
Yeah,
it's not a star.
Yeah. I think he could be kind of one of those types, maybe even lesser than that. That's the only issue. Whereas Lockie Cowan, I think he looks the goods. Like, Doherty's gone. Sard's getting on. Like, it looks like he's going to be the main guy across half bay. Newman's might come back for a season, but he's done after that. Like,
it's probably just going to be Hollands, maybe, and Cowan as the 2 half-backers.
Yep. So I think there will be a changing of the guards in terms of those kind of outside defenders, those running defenders, rebounding defenders, but maybe not for the midfielders. More people come in. That's all with
Do you think Jagger gets some time, surely?
Jagger surely gets heaps of time, Paddy McGreen wants to know, will Ladhams be good for another week? I think it's already been mentioned that he's probably going to get dropped this week by Dean Cox. Like I think it was pretty much like a 1 week play. Brody Grundy was on the telecast, just like giving everyone like the tongue out, like he was fine. Like you could tell he was like going to be like
because it was delayed concussion. I know he's not,
and like the commentators like, there's no way he's not playing next week. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
So like I don't think like Brody Grundy was really funny. So I think he's in. I think Ladhams, like because even Matt Flynn, like West Coast are playing 2 rucks at the moment, but I think Matt Flynn's carrying something. I think he hobbled off at some stage.
Yeah, right.
Later in that game. So they might even just go with Bailey Williams next week, which could be even more of a bloodbath for Grundy. Like, worst case, like, the thing is, like, 2 weeks ago, we saw Ladhams and Grundy played together, and Grundy scored 150.
Yep.
And Ladhams scored, like, 40 before getting subbed out, type thing, if that. Like, so...
I guess because McLean, I think, was out. I don't know if he's back. They just need someone to do that chop out, you know?
And I think McLean will do that. So I think Ladhams has had his run, and it's probably, like, the reward he kind of deserves for turning his kind of... season around. I think like Dean Cox has really got the best out of him as a backup ruck this year, and he got that kind of reward of playing one game and playing really well. But I think he goes out this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Grundy's all Australian.
Well, they want him to make all Australian.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they want him to get the blazer type thing. And then Kyle Oakley asks, what percentage of time does a player need to spend in an area to obtain DPP for the start of the year? So with this, like, the most accurate thing I've seen, and from all the information, like it's not a known science. Like it's not out there known as to what. But talking to guys like Warney who are very involved with this sort of stuff, who knows Freako, who knows all the champion data dudes and stuff like that, it's very heavily weighted to starting positions at the CBAs, and in fact, percentage of time in an area doesn't really factor into it at all. Is that fair to say? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I always just thought that. If there is a number, it's always been that 35% in that position.
Yeah. But I think that's 35% starting at the centre bounce.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not just being in that position. So like, I guess we talked about this today a little bit. Like Jordan D'Sena is a prime example. He just starts at the CBA and then plays forward pretty much for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But he's always a midfielder because that's where he starts at the CBA. And stoppages, I think stoppages do come into it where they line up stoppages, but he is someone who pushes up to the stoppage as well. Like, to be honest, like the most accurate thing we usually go by is those champion data player ratings. So if you go to like any club, like you go to carltonfc.com.au or like any club, you look at their players lists and you look underneath their name, it'll have like a position and it'll be like midfielder forward, key forward, that sort of stuff. That is probably the most, like for me over the years, that has been the most accurate indicator of what position they're going to be the following season. The only one that's a bit iffy is like there's no defender midfielder classification, so it's hard to tell who the mid defenders, defenders that
you
play. You
sort of have to make a guess, or
for those ones.
Or like for example, like Rosie is a defender. Yeah, but pretend next year he'll probably might have defender mid.
Yeah, and like it might seem a bit weird that that's the place you're looking for that, but the only reason I say is because I know that that's pulled from the same champion data source. It's like the same API in the background. They all, and if you look at all the sites, they're all kind of the same, and it's pretty obvious when you see it. But like, and that's updated quite frequently. That's where Ryan Power, I think, uses a lot of the data for making his position changes. So he looks at that data and say, well, has anyone changed over 3 weeks, and that sort of stuff as well, with a few other factors and stuff like that too. But so yeah, like it's a bit weird, but that's probably the most accurate lie. But yeah, time percentage in an area doesn't really factor in that much. Like, it's a good indicator, I find. It's a very good, like, oh, he spent 75% in defence, he must be a defender. But if he's not starting there at the CBAs, he might not be. But it's a good indicator to say that he's probably starting there. But it's just something you've got to watch, I guess, a bit more. So
I think, and at the end of the year, there's a really good article that you put up about, you usually scrape the data.
I usually take that whole data from every one of those club sites and put it up.
And I think that's always been to me, so accurate.
It was legit like 95% last year. Like there was even things like, shout out to P-Rex again, he's getting a few mentions on this podcast, but there was like, it was Archie Perkins was a great example.
Yes.
Like it was so wrong, his classification. Like he was listed as a mid only on the champion data classifications, but if you looked at his last 6 games, he'd played basically no CBAs. And so everyone's saying like he started every centre bounce he started every centre bounce up forward. There's no way he's a mid only. Come next year, he's a mid only. It's so accurate to a T. Like I said, the only ones that are a bit inaccurate are mid defenders and ruck forwards, because there's no ruck forward classification, so they're always classed as rucks.
Yeah.
So someone like Peter Ladhams, for example, will be a ruck, even though he's a ruck forward in fantasy type thing. So, so hopefully that answers it. It's more to do with starting positions, but the most accurate thing that you can find as a list is those champion data classifications. Anyways, we rambled for ages on that.
I've already started 2026 mid forwards as well. As I started, I sent you a message today. Some options.
Let's have a,
because I like to build my list. You know.
Well, we'll definitely get to that after the season ends, and I'll put that list out. So make sure you're looking at keepleaguepod.com.au for all that sort of stuff. But anyways, thank you, Jordy, for coming on again.
No worries.
The last one of the season.
Yes, I know. It's
unless you want to do a trade one after the offseason or something like that. Do that one.
Do a trade one.
Come back after the trade period and free agency. So what's that, about 6-7 weeks away?
Can look at some positions as well and
have
upside.
Have a bit of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I remember, I think that pod we did, Giants had a lot of people that left, and you said even back then, I reckon Lockie Ash is going to go well because Perryman was out and someone else was out. And what's happened? He's averaging 100.
I feel like that was pretty obvious though. Like it was about, I don't know, it was just right for Lockie Ash to break out. You know what I mean? But I still get like the TikTok I put out about that I think it was like that time last year. I still get mentions saying like you were bang on about this. I thought it was obvious. I didn't think it was even like bold of a call, but I don't know, people appreciated it. Anyways, let's wrap it up. Anything you want to plug? Get around you at Jordy D'Sena on the X sphere? Yeah, on the X. I'm just I'm really in the classic. I know. What's your rank right now? 253. And you got to make up 153 something like points, that. It's not spots. Yeah, it's not going to happen, I think. But if I can get top 200, I'll be happy with that. Yeah, the secondary hat. Well, like you know in the hottest 100, I always find the 200, 201 are better than the top 100. So we'll go with that for fantasy too. Yeah. I had Whitfield captain for a 23. That's right. You got Rosie for a 50. And like, have you worked out what would have been if you? Yeah, I haven't. But if I did, if things did go right, I probably would have been there. But that's the game. It's luck. Yeah. So sometimes it's nice when those things happen, so you can give up and stop having to waste so much time thinking about it as well. But I am keen for the season to just have no pressure sort of thing. Yeah, fair enough. Well, anyways, get around us at Keeper League Pod on all the socials. Head to keeperleaguepod.com.au to check out our website. We'll plug the membership program. Again, there's a lot of members out there these days who do support the podcast, and very, very grateful for those people because it's the only way I can afford the time to actually do this on a weekly basis these days. And if you want to get involved and support the podcast and ensure it keeps happening into the future on a weekly basis and it's within your means to do so, please jump on there and become a member. Prices will go up slightly, probably just after the season. So if you want to get it at a bit of a cheaper price, then sign up now. Anyways, we'll leave it at that this week. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and I think that's it. Thanks, Jordy. No worries. We'll see you soon. Talk to you all next week. Bye.